Good evening, everyone. Very sorry for the long delay. And the last 3 times that I went to lecture, the last 3 times in a row, it took me double time to get to the lecture. I don't know what's happening here. Maybe Hashem is telling me that I gotta take off or something, but it took me now 3.5 hours to get from Monsey to here. And without traffic, it's 1 hour ride. 3.5 hours. I left at 6:10. 3 hours and 20 minutes.
You had more time to prepare.
The opposite. It ruins my preparation. So let's hope the lecture will still be good. But I see a delicious food here, so I feel better. Huh?
Maybe you eat a little?
No. Don't worry about it. Okay, so the topic we chose today is to speak about reincarnation. It's a very interesting topic. Of course, everyone loves it. And the truth is that this topic, almost everything we know about it comes from the Kabbalah. Because in the Torah, this part is hidden very well. There are many topics, few different topics in the Torah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu hid inside his Torah because it wasn't interested that every ordinary person will have this knowledge. This is what we call Torah Tasod, the Kabbalah, the secrets of Judaism. But about 500 years ago, in the generation of the Ari HaKadosh, it started to get published all over the world. And today, even the parapsychologists, the Jews, non-Jews, doesn't matter. They're already proven scientifically that there is reincarnation, there's ways to prove it, and more and more people understand that today as a fact. As a matter of fact, without understanding the secrets of reincarnation, there's really no way to understand justice. Because many times we see a person is born blind, and the next one in a hospital born okay. So why one like this, one like that? Where is the justice of the Creator? That one will be blind all his life and the other one won't. Or sometimes one person is handsome, the other one is ugly. One is healthy, one is sick. One is male, one is female, one is having children, one is barren, one have difficult life, one have easy life. So many differences. Everyone has his own different phase. Everyone has a different test in life. So obviously, it's very obvious that it cannot be that the world has no justice, especially when we prove that the Torah is divine. And if you watch my lecture, you know what I'm talking about. So it's very easy to prove that the Torah can never be written by a person, only by the Creator of the world. And the Creator of the world presents himself as the God of justice. It's the top ultimate justice that a person can think of. The justice can go to a penny, to each in the head. If one person had an extra each, it cannot be. If a person had to each his head one more time in his life, it's all calculated. Every penny a person has, every aggravation he has, every agony, every pain, every little sickness, everything is calculated, and obviously there's no mistakes. We see today a computer doesn't make mistakes. Computer always comes out with the same answer. It can calculate millions of things in 1 second. So if a machine that we made can do it, obviously our Creator is much more able. So there's no mistakes. Everything is supervised. The problem is that when people did not know there is reincarnations, then they ask millions of questions. Where is the justice? What's going on? Why this kid is rich? Why this one is poor? Why he's smart? This one is foolish? What's happening here? After we started to learn more and more about reincarnation, about Gilgulim, then it's obvious without any slice of a doubt that everything that happens to us is a continuation of what we had in our previous lives. Not only that, today it takes 5-10 minutes to prove it. A person goes to a parapsychologist, a Jew or a non-Jew, doesn't matter, doesn't have to be even religious. And he hypnotizes the person somehow loses conscious, and they film it, and they ask him, who are you, what's your name? And he gives a different name. What year you live in? He gives a different year. He can say 1870. Where do you live? Paris. speaks to you in French. You have to bring an interpreter. What is he saying? And now when this person comes back to life, what's happening? Come see yourself speaking French. So what am I saying? I don't know what I'm saying. You've been talking to me 15 minutes under this hypnosis influence, and I don't even understand what I'm saying. So the interpreter has to explain to him, you are saying that your name used to be this, and you lived 100 years ago in France, and you own a store, and you're married, and you have children, and this and this and that. Now, the more you investigate, you find out that there are very big mutual things between the last life of a person to his existing life. It's like you can see right away, it's a continuation. As a matter of fact, a few days ago, I put on my Facebook page a short clip, 10 minutes clip, about a kid, a non-Jewish kid, that since he was very young, he liked to play with planes. All these plastic jet planes that they sell in the stores. So he plays with planes, and all the time he draws the Japanese flag. It's not Japanese, it's American. So he draws the Japanese flag, and he say, boo, 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 and the planes, and he played like a combat, like a real war. And the parents ask him, what happening? He said, plane crash. Where crash? In the ocean. He begins to talk, and then they ask him, who is this pilot? He said, that's me. I'm in a plane. I crashed. They started to investigate, and he tells them exactly who he used to be and how he died in a war with Japan. He crashed into the ocean. He was flying this plane. And then they go and they investigate, and there was exactly a pilot like this with this name, and everybody from his unit still alive. They're very old, 70, 80 years old, whatever, but they still remember that pilot. And then they show a picture. And you look at the picture of the boy and the picture of the pilot that died, and you see very similar face. Very similar face. They're actually showing it how it changed, the face, mamash the same face almost. And he was in a war against Japan, and exactly the same thing the boy said. They checked, and it's 100% legit. And my Torah and Science film, actually, in my Life After Life film, I show another boy that when his father was changing his diaper, so he told him, the boy was 1.5 years old. 1.5 years old. Most kids don't even talk that much in this age. So he said to his father, it's very strange. When I was your age, I used to change your diapers. And then they started an investigation. They brought an expert. And they found out that he is a reincarnation of his father. Wow. The grandfather came back as a boy. He was saying what? But it's something very obvious in Judaism, that the Torah said that sometimes the parents come back as their children to train their children how to be good. Which means, when you were my son, you disrespected me, you gave me a hard time, now I'm going to teach you what does it mean to be a bad son. He comes back at his son and gives him a nightmare. And you wonder, why this boy is like this? What's going on with him? Why? You don't even know it's your father or your mother. You understand? So that's a common thing. The Torah spoke about it, that the parents sometimes come as the children. It's very interesting. The general rule, remember, there's always an exception to the rule. Always. There's a rule, and there's always an exception to the rule. I explained in previous lectures why Hashem made the world, that every rule has some exceptions to it. It indicates about the rule. If you don't have exception, you don't appreciate, you don't understand the rule. Only when you have some exceptions, you understand what a miracle this rule is. You don't take it for granted. For instance, everyone see, and one out of million cannot see. So one person is blind, everyone that have eyes begin to appreciate their eyes. Imagine my life was like him, all day in the darkness, all his life. So you begin to appreciate his life. And everyone has legs. One handicap has sitting on a wheelchair, paralyzed or no legs. You begin to appreciate your legs, right? Everyone have children. Once in a while there's a couple, 15, 20 years, no children. And when you see their agony and pain, you begin to appreciate your children, which you complain about all day and all night. So you begin to say, I'm sorry, Hashem, I'm so embarrassed, I'm complaining on my children. Imagine if I was like this. So every rule has an exception to the rule. So the rule here, that every Jew comes back as a Jew and every Goy comes back as a Goy. But there's an exception to the rule. Sometimes the Jew is so wicked that he gets such a punishment that he comes back in the body of a Goy. But it's very rare. It says in Sha'ar HaGilgulim, the chapter of Reincarnation by the Ari Kadosh was written 500 years ago, that a Jewish woman that is not modest jeopardizes herself, that she can come back in a non-Jewish prostitute. Imagine this kind of life. So this is what it says over there. For me, it's hard to understand how exactly it happens, and what does it mean, not modest, because today almost nobody is modest. So what does it mean, that the world will be full of non-Jewish prostitutes? I don't know. But Hashem knows what it means. We remember 500 years ago when it was written, the chance that you find a not modest woman, maybe 1 out of 1,000, there was one that is half enough. Today it's the other way around. Today 999 have no idea what modesty is. Natural, they just don't dress, they behave not modest, and all of a sudden you see one that she's modest, and the society thinks she's crazy. What's happened to you? There's one Israeli guy who met a non-Jewish girl. He lives somewhere here in America, and slowly they discovered the lectures. They started to hear some of my lectures, and the both of them decided to be religious, but she's not Jewish. But she is very spiritual, so she started to listen, and she became mamash, keeping all the mitzvot. She wants to convert. So in the meantime, she already keeps everything. Think about it. She's not even obligated, but she keeps everything. So they had some event in Israel, and he took her to meet the family, I don't know, wedding, bar mitzvah, whatever it was. And all the Israeli Jewish women over there were asking him, why is she dressed like a rabbanit? Why your girlfriend is like this? She's not normal? What's happening? So they ask her, why? Take it off. You don't need to dress. The mother, the aunt, take off. She said, what do you mean take off? It's not allowed. You have to be modest. It's a shock for her, how Jews became. It's a shock for them that the Goya is more righteous than them. You understand? I don't know if they're clever enough to understand how deep they are in their spirituality. Probably they think that she's crazy and they are okay. But really, the truth is that it's the other way around. It's an embarrassment. So we should know that it's all started with Adam. 5,722, 5,773 years old. I'm still on the highway. So there was the creation of the world, and there was the first human being, Adam. He wasn't born from a woman. They say, how come Adam lived such long life? He lived 930 years, Adam. He was supposed to live 1,000 years. Why did he live such long life? In 7 years he has to give King David. So they took 7 years, but it was really supposed to be 1,000 years. How did he have such long life and we hardly live 70, 80 years? The answer is, no offense, he didn't have a mother-in-law. So his life was no stress. But I'm not talking Bukharian, don't worry. That's already, that's an exception to the rule. Yeah, the Bukharian mother-in-law is sometimes better than a mother. So anyway, if we're already saying a joke, why Hashem didn't make Adam and Eve Chinese? He was afraid they'll eat the snake. They ruined the whole story. They see the snake come, we want to eat lunch. Anyway, all right, so anyway, so you should know that almost all the souls are all a part of the first soul of Adam. Almost all the souls. When I say almost, mean there's an exception to the rule. Adam's soul was a perfect divine creation, and after the sin, every one of the souls that are engraved into his soul got affected by the sin, contaminated spiritually. And after that, once Hashem took the souls from his major soul, you have to imagine, a soul is not anything physical, that you take it and cut it in half, so it's 2 halves. You cut it again, so you have 4 quarters. You cut it again, so you have 8 eighths. And then until it's nothing, there's nothing to cut anymore. You cannot see it. They become a microscopic. Soul, it's a divine energy. It's nothing to do with size, image, color, or anything like this. It's a divine energy. And so when all the soul include millions, billions of souls, in potential it's 600,000 really. But the souls can split. The soul, sometimes a person comes back, not the entire soul, only a part of the soul. Some part stay, some part comes back in Gilgul, in reincarnation. Anybody can understand that? Probably not. It's above our understanding. But the potential, all the souls that were in Adam, they were put in a body, and all these souls were in a body until the time of Mount Sinai, which everyone was going. There was no Jews yet. No Judaism, it wasn't given yet. But there were rules. Noah have rules, and Adam has some rules, and then Shem and Ever, they had a yeshiva, and Yaakov Avinu learned Torah before the Torah was even given. So we see that certain individuals such as Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, they already had the Torah, parts of the Torah, without the history part, just the mitzvot, the halachot. The Torah says clearly that Avraham kept all the mitzvot. How did he keep mitzvot? It's in the Torah. I love Avraham because he kept my Torah and my mitzvot, and I trusted him that he will pass it on to his children. This is a verse in the Torah. Now remember, Avraham is more than 200 years before the Torah was given, and he kept all the mitzvot. Even Eruf Tavshilim, which is mitzvah de Rabbanan. Even Eruf Tavshilim, the Gemara say, you know what Eruf Tavshilim is? When you have Yom Tov before Shabbat, you're not allowed to prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbat. So what do? You start the preparation before Yom Tov started, by putting a piece of bread and an egg or something, and you say a bracha. This will allow me to start my preparation for Shabbat from now. Since you started it in a weekday, you can go on and continue all the way to Shabbat. So this is a mitzvah from Chachamim. The Chachamim say, don't mix the Kedusha of Yom Tov and Shabbat, prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbat. You want to prepare before. So Avraham already knew about this, and different other laws. So all the souls are all coming from Adam's souls, even the Goyim. But what's the difference? All the Goyim, in a generation of Mount Sinai, 3,322 years ago, all the Jewish soul received an extra influence by Hashem, which means once we made a covenant with Hashem and now we have to keep 613 laws, so the soul of a Jew became different than the soul of the Goyim. And when a Jew dies, he goes to a different place than where a Goy go. And when a Goy has to be reincarnated, his soul comes from a lower spiritual world. And when a Jew has to come back, he comes from a higher spiritual world, from different worlds, different level. And they have to come, they have to correct. You see by the Goyim that they also reincarnated. When you hypnotize a Goy, you find out who he was in his previous life, in Ireland, in England, in Sweden. He's also a non-Jew and he's been reincarnated. By the Arabs is very common, by the Druze I should say. In Israel, every other Druze kid remember his reincarnation. Now, almost all the people in the world do not remember their previous life, do not. But once in a while you find a person, as again is an exception to the rule, that you don't need to hypnotize him. Since he's a little kid, he begins to talk about who he was. He misses his wife, he wants you to take him to visit his wife. He's 3 years old. Where is your wife? I'll show you the way. Yeah, and he goes, and they can't take a camera, and they knock on the door, and a 45 years old woman opened the door, and she's an Arab Druze. So he said, hi, I'm Adel, your husband. And he's 7 years old by then. He started to talk about it when he was 3. After 4 years of talking about it, his parents brought psychologists to check him, to see if he's normal. What wife? Little kid. He missed his wife, he gave them direction. He recognized the house, they knock on the door, everything is filmed. You have it in the internet, you can see the film yourself. He was an Israeli soldier because the Druze, they joined the army, you know. So they joined the army, so he died in Lebanon. He was 37 years old, in reserve. They called him in a war. And he died over there in Lebanon when the building collapsed on his head. Many soldiers died, more than 70 soldiers died in that time. And then he came back right away, and 7 years later, he is going to visit his wife from the previous life. So remember, 37, mamash few weeks after he got reincarnated, plus 7, so he's now 45. And the wife is 45. So now a 7 years old got to meet his wife. The husband is 7 years old, the body, and the wife is 45 years old. She opened the door, she thinks it's a joke. No, don't hang up. Remember this, remember that. He begins to give her a sign and say, let me show you where I hid all the mails that I used to send you from the army. He goes up to the attic, he opens the ceiling, he brings a bag. This is what I used to write to you. Then he opened up the closet, his uniforms is over there. And then he said to the reporter, my personal number. Every soldier has a personal number. So it's 7 digits, he remembered 5. He couldn't remember the last 2, but he remembered the first 5. After all, it was 7 years ago, right? So he didn't remember. He remembered 5 out of the 7 from his previous life. And then in the end of the clip, they show him standing by his grave crying. So the woman asked him, what do you feel by standing next to your grave? He said, it's very sad to know how I ended up. So they take him to the volleyball place where he used to play volleyball with his friends. He says, see, I was playing here. And then in the end, before they go to the grave, they're showing him sitting with his cousin, which is more or less the same age, 7 years old and a 45 years old man, 2 Arab Druze sitting and remembering how they used to go to the nightclub and dance to Arabic music and drink beer. And they remember we went here, we went there. That's obviously an answer, and there's not 1 or 2 cases like this. There's many, many thousands of cases like this. In all cultures, all religions, every place in the world, you have cases like this. I would say it's not an exaggeration to say there's not even 1 city in the world that you don't have people like this, that remember the previous life. Actually, when I was in Israel, we had a neighbor. At that time, I was thinking that she's making up stories. Didn't take her story serious. So half of her stories, I wouldn't even listen. But then later, when I started to investigate this and to see how reliable are the sources, then I started to remember all the stories she used to say. So she was an Ashkenazi woman, and one time she decided to go to Germany on a trip to Europe. When she arrived to Germany, all of a sudden she was with a friend. She started to recognize the streets. And she told her, at that time she was in her 40s. She was a widow, her husband died in a war, she had a boy and a girl, so she decided to go to see where her parents grew up. But when she got there, she started to recognize the place. And she said to her friend, there's a train station. If we go here, we make a ride. They went, there's a train station. Then she recognized some of the businesses that were still around. She's recognized the entire area. Everything came back to her. So sometimes when people see, it's what we call déjà vu. All of a sudden something comes back to them. But the younger the people are, the more they remember. When they grow up, it's harder for them to remember. Sometimes people that have birthmark, all kinds of stains in the body. It's very interesting because one Indian guy that had the birthmark right here, when they hypnotized him and they found out how he died, he got shot exactly where the birthmark is. Exactly where he has a mark, that's how he died. And by hypnotizing him, he said the name of the murderer.
Oh my God.
You understand? That nobody ever caught him. You understand? So this is an example how reliable it can get. Now, some souls, believe it or not, are not a part of Adam. It's new souls. It's very hard to understand why God made new souls later. Some of the souls never been reincarnated yet, which means they come in certain generation for the first time. Almost all of us are old souls, almost everybody. But once in a while there's a person that comes here, even in this generation, for the first time ever. Why? Of course, we don't understand all the secrets of the creator of the world, but we know that fact, that there are souls that are not a part of Adam. And so basically there are 3 levels of souls. First level is the souls that they are not a part of Adam, therefore they are not contaminated from his sin. They are brand new souls, which means they don't have that stain to correct. Only the ones who are a part of Adam has to correct it, but the ones who are not a part of Adam, don't have that problem. There are second level of the souls. There are souls who were part of Adam, but they were not contaminated as bad as most of the other souls, which means their test is much easier in life. To do the right thing, it's easier for them, but they did not fall into the klipot. Klipot is like pills. We have a soul, and the soul has a pill that prevents from the soul to see the light of God. This is all Kabbalah terms. I don't expect you to understand. If you understand 1% of what I say, it's also just to give us an idea. And the third level is souls that obviously came from the soul of Adam, and they are very, very deep in a klipa, which means they are very, very contaminated from the sin, and they have a very hard test to correct it. Most of the people in the world are people from that category. That's why everything goes hard. But once in a while you meet a person, as soon as you find out the Torah is real, right away, you become an angel. In a few days. I one time had a guy like this. You know, one telemarketer called him to invite him to a seminar. As they speak to him on the phone, she said, well, would you try to come on Shabbat to Muncie, maybe to see what Shabbat is? She didn't believe he's going to say yes. He said, yeah, why not? So she sent him to me. He came to me. We spoke the whole Shabbat. I show him proofs and this. Motzei Shabbat, you should see his eyes like, it's like in a moon. I said, thank you, that's the best Shabbat. Like you should see how the influence, what happened to this person. Then he went back to Brooklyn. He was living with many guys and girls in a horrible condition in a house. No modesty, tons of sins over there. Hashem Yirachem. He calls me up 10 o'clock at night. Motzei Shah, I'll never forget this. He said, don't ask what the people are doing to me here. I said, what? Say they all make fun. You're crazy, brainwash. What happened to you? I said, how do they know where you went? He said, no, they see the kippah. I said, you stayed with the kippah? He said, are you kidding? How can I take the kippah off? One day in his life, he found out about religion. He grew up like a goy, the poor guy. He said, how can I take the kippah off if that's the truth? So today is a very, very holy person. He gets up every morning 4 o'clock, learn all day Torah. You should see what a tzaddik, Baal Chet, a perfect human being. You can't find better than this. It's like they have no Yetzer Hara. Maybe he's one of the souls that don't have the influence from Adam. Otherwise, it's very hard to explain how a person can be like this. In one day, what's devotion to Hashem? Yes?
So how does God choose who gets which soul?
Yeah, first of all, you have to understand. You know, let's say a picture got somebody spray color on a big picture. So and the picture is cut to 600 pieces, right? Some of the pieces are dirty, some not. The dirty we have to clean now. How it was decided which one we get dirty, it really doesn't matter. It was one picture, parts of the picture are dirty. But now they have to be clean. So the other parts who are not dirty, they anyway suffer from the entire situation, because the entire nation of Israel is one unit. If some are continue to make sins and the other don't, the one who does not make sins, they are influenced by the sins of the other, which means everything is connected. How he decided is a very hard question to answer. There are certain things we just don't know. It's like asking why Hashem created the world. The best we know is to benefit the righteous people from his greatness. The source of all good wanted to benefit people, to create something that he can share his good with them. And he made a system of earning, reward, punishment, a test, evil inclination, the entire thing. But after all, it gives us an idea why God created the world, but we don't know what was his initial thinking. We don't have an understanding. Why? That's what he wanted. He wanted it. We don't know. If we were in a level to understand his thinking and understand how he look at things exactly in his level, we would be him. That's what the Rambam says. If I knew all the things about him, and the Rambam knew about 1 billion times better than all of us together. for us to understand who was the Rambam. This is almost 900 years ago. One of the greatest people ever lived. You can see even the Goyim put his statue in Washington. Was one of the 18 most greatest people ever lived. So the Rambam wrote, if I knew everything about him, I would be him. Then that means I'm also perfect. So obviously we don't have an understanding. If somebody claims that we have the answer to every question, he's either mistaken or he's a liar, one of the two. We don't know the answers to all the questions. But if we know 20% or 80% sometimes, or 30% or even 1%, it gives us an understanding of what needs to be done. Just that you know the rule. What we able to achieve with our mind, God wanted us to know. What it's above our understanding, He did not want us to know. One of the reasons why God didn't make everybody remember his previous life. Every person when he's born, he knew what's the sin he has to correct. And now he knows his weaknesses, and he continue. Now he's in a different place, different parents, different school. Now he knows why I came to the world to correct. Isn't it better? If I came to the world and I know this was my weaknesses, I have to focus on my weaknesses. Right now, I don't know which one I have to correct first. Which one is more urgent, this sin or that sin? So the answer is, thinking about it, it's very, very surprising. What's the whole concept of hiding from people what they used to be in their previous life? The answer is, if you really think about it 5 minutes, it's impossible. Why? If every person would born with remembering his previous life, half of the people would kill themselves right away. They wouldn't want to live. And I'll tell you why. If you are a 4 or 5 years old boy and you remember that in your previous life you were married 4 times, and each one of your wives you torture, you beat them up, you curse them, you abuse them, you made horrible life to them, and now you came to the world to correct what you are bad with, which means you're going to die single. This is measure for measure. Your punishment is that since you disrespected your wife and behave horrible, now you're going to be a handsome man with lots of money, you're controlling businesses, and you can get married. And you suffer. Or you get married and you get divorced again 4 times, but now the wives give you hell. Different, the other way around. And they take away all your money and you make millions and then divorce and you go to court and you fight 7 years, they take away your company and then you rebuild yourself and another wife does it to you. Now, if you knew in advance when you're 2 or 3 years old that that's what you're going to have in the next 7 years, do you know one person would want to stay here? Take a gun and shoot himself. Yeah, I don't want to be here. I can't see myself now 7 years in this suffering. That's one of the reasons why all the poor people don't kill themselves. Because they always have this dream, one day I'll be rich. If many of them knew when they 10, 12 years old that they'll be poor for the rest of their life, half homeless, sleeping in a shelter, going here, going there, I promise you, we wouldn't have 7 billion people in the world. So God, you have to remember, just when we think we know better than Him, think again. Whatever He did in the world, the way He designed the world, that means it could not have been any better, even by 1,000,000%. It could have not been better. It's not that He was able to build it better and to create the concept better, and He did it not as good. He did it only 98%. He could have done 100, but no. Because everything He does is perfect. It's not us. We are limited. If you get on a test 98, your father is happy. Ooh, 98. But if God gets 98, it's a big insult. You're not perfect. How can I rely on you? He's the ultimate perfect power that creates and controls everything. Which means whatever you don't understand, we are the problem. Anyone who thinks that he understands better than God what should have been in his life, that's called in Hebrew, kfirah. You know what kfirah? How do you say kfirah in English? Kofer. Someone who rebels against God without even realizing. Like the Arabs say infidels, that's the right word? That's what it is. They call it kofer. They say it in Arabic kufar, which comes from Hebrew, kofer. You understand? So let's move on. Okay, so now, the reason that sometimes people looks different, have different amount of money in their bank accounts is as a result of their last life. Is it possible to stop with the phone? Please, thank you. I mean, whoever. It's every second something with the phone. So what happens is, if a person, for instance, one person is born handsome and this other one's born not so good looking, it's not coincidence. It's all a continuation of what they used to do in their previous life. Sometimes there's a reason why a woman will be extra pretty, because her test is in modesty. If she will be ugly, where is the test? If she will be 700 pounds and very, very ugly face, she would like to come on the street and show herself with a bathing suit? She would know it's not exactly what I need to do. It's not my job here. But when she has a body and an image and everybody gives her compliments and this, that's actually pushing her deeper and deeper in a negative way. Now, her job is to overcome this strong desire to show her beauty. It's a very hard test. It's also sometimes by men, especially in this generation, because the men became like women today. Perfume, manicure, pedicure, this, that, all kinds of things that you never heard before. It's happening today. So people have this test. So a person that doesn't have this test, he was always modest, why should he be handsome? To create a new test for him? He passed it already. Doesn't have that test. He gets a wife, he gets married, he's busy with his wife, doesn't have this Yetzer Hara. The Gemara gives an example from Yosef. Yosef was very handsome, very, very handsome man. When he was walking in Egypt, all the friends of the wife of Potiphar would fall on the floor just to see himself, because he was walking like this, because he didn't want to look at them. He was a very modest person. He came from the house of Yaakov Avinu. And they were falling on the floor. The Gemara say, one time he came into the room, they were cutting etrogim. Etrog used to be delicious fruit. They were cutting their fingers when they saw him. That's how, it's something like you never saw such a thing. And she was one of the most 4 beautiful women ever lived in history. So this is a very hard test. 17 years old boy, they put him with the most beautiful woman who seduced him from morning to night, changed clothes, perfumes, he's alone with her in the house. Very big test. If it wasn't his test, why he has to be so handsome? What's the point? It's not his test. Same thing, money. If a person test in life is donations, help the poor, help the widow, help the yeshivot, help to make Baalei Tshuva, supporting synagogue, and many things, then he has to be a multi-millionaire or a billionaire. If he's going to make $50 a day, how exactly is going to sponsor the yeshivot and the thing? Where is the test? So he comes to God after 100 years he lived here. Why didn't you support the yeshivot in your town? Support with what? I couldn't pay for my electric bill. What support? Of course, it looks ridiculous. Now he has $1 billion. Now he's guilty. If he didn't have it, he's not guilty. There's no test. He got the point. So everyone gets what he needs to get for his test. Everyone gets what he needs to get for his test. You don't have it, it's not your test. Don't be jealous with anyone. It's not your test. You want to be something that you're not supposed to be. A doctor cannot be jealous with a lawyer that he had an easier test in college. It's not my field. Well, what does it have to do with me? You understand? So let's move on. Now remember, reincarnation in general is a punishment. It's not a reward, it's a punishment. Which means if a person was righteous, that's it. He does not need to be reincarnated. He goes to heaven and he's done. There's nothing to correct. I'm corrected already. I passed my test. I got my suffering for the few sins that I made. I come to my trial. I go to heaven and I'm done with this. I have nothing to do in this world anymore. If a person has to come back, that means he has things to correct. But there are different kinds of reincarnation. The most common one is since Hashem is giving few chances to a person, not one, few chances. So a person comes back as a person with a free choice, which means he has a test now. He died wicked or righteous or half enough. If he was fully righteous, he doesn't come back. But if he's 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, that means he has to correct. So he comes back based on what he has to correct. But he has a free choice like every human being, most people. If he does not come back as a chance to correct, it's not a test anymore. Then he would come back as autistic or Down syndrome that doesn't have a free choice. They can't tell the difference between good and bad. They can get naked on the street. If he has money, he will give it to the kids on the street. He doesn't understand between good and bad. You understand? You try to teach him to write a sentence 10 years until he understands one word. The brain is disconnected. The soul is in the brain. It's disconnected from the body, which means a person cannot operate. If his body and soul is disconnected, so it's 100% pure punishment. Usually, people come back in this kind of reincarnation because of Lashon Hara, gossip, speaking bad about people and enjoying hearing bad about people. What's the news? Who does he go to? To a person who always speaks bad. No, what's the news? I haven't heard anything from you this week. Sometimes you see even in a shul. What's Mr. X? No news. What's happening in town? Well, that guy, there's nothing to do with his life. All day he talks to people. He gets, you heard what happened here? You heard what happened here? You heard what happened in the shul? You heard what did they do to the rabbi? Did you hear what they did here? All day like this. And a person like this makes a lot of sins without realizing, and he passes the rumors and ruins people's life. If he was righteous in everything else, then he gets lucky to come back as an autistic kid just to correct the little that he needs, which is this sin. But everything else is okay with. So he lived 12, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, short life usually, and he's done. Doesn't have to come back again. There's another way to come back as a raw material. A rock, water, sand, many raw materials, different raw materials. Why is it? Well, what's the point of coming back as raw material? Sometimes a person has to be stuck somewhere. For instance, in a shul. He never came to daven. Moshe, get up. It's already 9 o'clock. No, I'm tired. You're already sleeping 14 hours. Get up. Don't bother me. So now he get up. 11 o'clock, he pray in his bedroom 2 minutes, and he rush to work. And it becomes a habit. One day he died. Hashem said, no problem. Let's give you a chance to be in shul now. When they build the shul, one of the bricks, that's his soul. In my lecture, Life After Life, I show a picture that they took in the year 1900. 110 years ago in black and white. Goyim, a family of Goyim. And in the siding of their house, there are 3 faces of people, reincarnations. 3 people, among them is their daughter who died when she was 6 years old. She is reincarnated in the siding of the house, I don't know why, and 2 more faces of people, and the eyes of the people cannot see it. Only the frequency on the lens of the camera can detect the souls. A person cannot see the souls that are in space. But sometimes when you take picture, when you develop the picture, you see images, and you're, wow. In my lecture, Life After Life, I show a picture that they took when they filmed that famous movie, 3 Men and a Baby, with this actor, Ted Danson. There's an actor. One of the days that they were shooting, they filming, when the editor received the video, he said that there's a boy standing in a closet. And he said to them, this boy ruined the entire film. It's not a part of the movie. They said, what boy? He said, there's a boy standing behind you in a closet, the entire filming. He said, there's no boy there. We were only us with the crew. There's no boys there. What boy? It's in a rented apartment. He said, come and see the boy. They see the picture. They see a boy standing and watching them. They asked the owner of the house that they rent the house for the movie from him, and he started to cry. It's his son who killed himself with his father's gun. But nobody saw him. Only the lens of the video camera saw him, but they didn't see him when they were there. Looking around, they don't see anything. All of a sudden, the camera show you pictures. So this is a very common thing, that cameras detect images of people, and sometimes you recognize them. If you don't recognize, it's somebody reincarnated in space.
So what happened after?
So the people that are reincarnated in space, that's the worst. That's called kaf hakela. ואת נפש, the Torah says, ואת נפש הרשע, יקלענה בכף הקלע. And the souls of the most wicked people are in space like a slingshot. You know how kids have slingshot and they shoot the stones? That's how the angels shoot the souls from one side of the world to the other. And I don't want to get into details, but it's very, very, very serious punishment. Worse than hell. Much worse than hell. Hell, it's very painful, a huge agony, horrible suffering, but at least it purifies the soul. There's X amount of years, you come out of there, you clean. It's dry clean. God is cleaning the soul. He gave you a chance to clean the soul here. You didn't want to learn Torah. You didn't want to be honest. You didn't want to be modest. So you didn't clean your soul. There is no more reincarnations for you. So what's going to be? It puts you in one of the 7 different departments in hell. And over there they clean the souls based on what sins they did. You just don't want to go to the 7th place in hell. If somebody goes to the 7th place, which is the lowest one, he never comes out of there. That's it. He stays there forever. There's no way to come out. But all the top 6, a person is going X amount of years based on how many stains he has on his soul, and he comes out. Which means God did the job for you. You didn't do the job for yourself. God did the job for you. At least it's over and you go to heaven based on your mitzvot. But the 7th place, it's called Tachtit Haaretz, the bottom of the earth. And that's the dirt of all the wicked people from the top 7 layers, all of them is going down to the bottom, which is the 7th layer. Chas v'shalom, if somebody goes there, doesn't come out of there. Which sins are going there, do you know? I give you 2 or 3 examples.
Suicide.
One is Mechalel Shabbat Befaresia, not keeping Shabbat. Is going there. Second is a person who does Chilul Hashem. Embarrass the name of the Torah and Judaism, the name of God among the world. Not only Goyim, even by Jews. Secular Jews, religious Jews. He behaves in a bad way. People say, what kind of religion is this? Look how this person behaves. And he accumulates a lot of these incidents. And that's called Chilul Hashem. It's disgracing the name of God in public. And the third one is a man that wastes seed on a sin. Not for mitzvah to make his wife pregnant or anything like this. Wasting seed purposely, not accident, purposely. Accident is the 3rd section. There's a way to come out. But purposely, if a person watches dirty films and does it, then he goes to that place because there's no way to correct the damage that he made because the sperm has millions of souls in it, potential souls. And every time he does it, it's like a genocide. And then you accumulate it over the years. It's like killing, could be hundreds of millions of people. And all these people is potential souls. It's very, very difficult. The Torah called him shofech damim, spilling bloods. You understand? And that's, many people are not aware of it, and it's a problem. Besides all the damage that it makes to the person's life, poverty problem, marriage problems, problems with the children, depression, weaknesses, sicknesses, bad smell, bad breath, there's weak teeth. There's a list of almost endless problems that it brings to the life of a man. Besides all of that, on top of everything, after all the suffering he goes through this life, his problem didn't even start yet. He goes and he finds out what he did, and Hashem Yerachem. So there is another way to be reincarnated, which is in trees, plants, fruits, growing things. You know, there are 4 different levels when it comes. It's called Chai, Tzomeach, Domem, and Chai Medaber. Chai Medaber is us, live and talking with free choice, is the highest out of the 4, because you still have a chance to correct. Chai Eno Medaber, which is 1 level below it, it's animals. Come back as a dog, come back as a snake, come back as a bird. It's 1 level below. Then comes back as growing plants, trees, orange, apple, peanuts, pistachio, can be reincarnated in something, and he's staying there until a person gets it and make a bracha. Once you make a bracha, the soul comes out, the person eat it, and that's it. If the person didn't make a bracha, he comes back again in Gilgul. Until Mishamayim, with the supervision of God, it would fall to the hand of a righteous person who make a bracha and release the soul from that. Also, the animals, when the animals get depend which animal, pure animal or impure animal. For instance, a dog, it's an impure animal. If a person is reincarnated in dog, it's a horrible punishment. Now, what happens if it's a very rich dog, which means his owner is a billionaire, he lives in a beautiful mansion, he has someone, doctor, veterinary, and someone gives him massage, and his owner left him $20,000. And I heard today there's some foolish conservative rabbi, Shem Yerachem, to call him rabbi, that gives blessing now to dogs. Did you hear about it? Anyone who wants to see this article can email me, and I forward it to you. He's standing over there and holding the head of the dog, closing his eyes like the babot, and he said, "Mi sheberach avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, hu yivarech et," whatever the name of the dog is. Kelev ben. Yeah. What do you expect? What do you expect? Someone who modified the Torah, what do you expect from them?
New concept, good business.
Yeah, and there's one Reform Jew who made bar mitzvah to his son and brought him tefillin. No. You can see him on YouTube. Right, bar mitzvah to his dog. Right, search. Okay, so now, so what's wrong of being a dog like this? Even you get to put tefillin every day. What's wrong with being a dog like this? Some people don't have such great life like this dog. He eats well. He lives in a beautiful place. They got him all kinds of toys. No, the kids play with him. He's happy. He moves his tail all day like this. He has a female. He doesn't have to worry about his mortgage. What? Many people would love to have such life. Or a nice bird flying all over the world, complete tour all over the world, free of charge. Don't need airfare, don't security, no, take your shoes off, this, metal detector, security, the plane get delayed, traffic to get to the airport, you lose 10 pounds, your hair become all white, maybe you miss the flight, you get stuck in Atlanta. He doesn't have all this. Yeah, all over the world, you see him. So what's wrong with being an animal? So many people, because of that, make a big mistake. They don't understand what it means to be reincarnated in animal. Be reincarnated in animal has nothing to do with the physical condition of the dog or the animal. It's nothing to do whether he has good life or bad life. It's nothing to do. The soul doesn't care about this. The punishment is that you take a Jewish divine soul and attach it to the filthiest nefesh. From all the nefesh is the lowest spiritual part. The Adam wa nefesh, it's the blood. It's in the blood. When the blood of a person, the divine soul is in the blood, connects to the blood, then it's very good shidduch. High level with high level, the soul doesn't suffer. But when you take the soul, the divine soul, and disconnected it from a human body and attach it to a nefesh of the dog, there is no end to the suffering of the soul in that kind of mix, in that kind of shidduch. It's a horrible thing. It's nothing to do if the dog eats well or jump or he got $20 million inheritance. Nothing to do with this. Just being attached to the nefesh of the dog or a crow or any other animal, it's horrible. What happens if a person is reincarnated in a pure animal, such as goat, cow, that is slaughtered and sacrificed on the altar? That's from all the options of being reincarnated in animals, that's the best option. Why? When they sacrifice him on the altar in Jerusalem in the time of Bet HaMikdash, then the soul finally finished the job. And, after they slaughter it, that's the soul goes to his place in heaven and is done. Then raw material, a growing material is after living animals. And raw material is the lowest level. Raw material, this is what I give an example, that a person can be reincarnated in a place and he doesn't get out of there 100, 200, 500 years, that's it. There's nothing he can do, it's helpless. He's in the same place, seeing the same thing every day. I know a woman that she has spiritual eyes. She told me that she went to the Western world and she saw thousands of faces reincarnated on the walls of people. Images of people. You understand? In the Western world. How they get up? When Hashem decides they get up. Depends how many years they have to be there.
So why there?
I don't know. Maybe it's people that they made sins in the time of Bet HaMikdash. Maybe they entered there impure. Maybe they didn't bring their sacrifices. Who knows? Could be many things. Maybe they didn't disrespect the place. Whatever the case, we don't know. We shouldn't pretend that we know everything. Whatever we know, I'm telling you, I'm reading to you what we know. It's been transferred. There are many things we don't know. We're not God. Don't make that mistake, that think that we know everything. The Goyim don't know anything. Whatever they know came from us. The little that they know. The rest, they made it up, and it does not make any sense. A lot of nonsense over there, full of human errors. But the little that they do know comes from us. For instance, the Goyim know about heaven and hell. How did they learn about it? From the Torah. They know that there used to be angel Gabriel. That's why the Muslim made a story that he gave the Quran to Muhammad, which never happened. But how did they know about the angel? From the Torah. The Goyim fights for Jerusalem. What told them to do it? They saw in the Torah how important is this city, so they all of a sudden decided to fight for it. It wasn't like this always. All of a sudden they decided they want it. So you understand that whatever they do know comes from the Torah. The rest, they don't know anything. Now, the way it's been done is, look how it's working. You take a raw material, you take a seed, you throw it in the ground, it goes to the higher level of becoming something that grows, like a tree or a plant. It grows. So the raw material grows. And then comes the animals and eat it, so you go to the higher level. So it starts raw material, turns into growing, being eaten by an animal, which means now you go to the third level, and then the animals go to the altar and get slaughtered by, and the person get released, so you go to the fourth level, to the highest level. Or the person eats the animal, right? A part of the sacrifice he eats. So it goes from raw to growing to animal into human being and finished. It's all very complicated, but for us to get an idea. What else? Let's see what else. I'm reviewing if anything I missed here before we move on. Like for instance, there's a question. Someone was reincarnated in salt. Salt, yes, salt. Like in the Dead Sea, on the floor, the salt can be reincarnated in salt. What is it? Growing or raw material? What is it? What is it considered? You understand? Is it something that grows, or it's something that consider raw material? You understand? So this is an example. There's many questions that it's hard to. Okay, now you see that all the animals have the same face. You look, you see 1,000 chimpanzees. All of them are twins. Why? Why not every chimpanzee have different colors and different images and bigger nose, smaller nose? They're all like an image. Like one copy machine made all of them. Because they don't have a free choice. They're not in a test. They're not reincarnated and they are being tested. Remember what I said before? The image of the person indicates about his soul. That's why in Judaism a woman is not allowed to cover her face. Now in Israel there's a new thing now. There's a group of a cult, there's a religious cult that started to wear shal, shawls that cover the whole body, and they started to cover their head, their face. They say we are tired of this fake modesty of the religious world, so we decided to do it 100% modest. No man can see our image, body, nothing, face, nothing. So there's a very big thing now in Israel. All the rabbis are fighting against them in the media. What's going on? You don't have a rabbi, you do whatever you want. But the truth is, if you really think about it, to wear a shawl to cover the body, what's wrong about it? All our grandmothers were like this. You cannot say that they're making a sin. But to cover the face, they make a big mistake. It's not allowed to cover the face. The Torah is speaking about one woman who covered her face and called her a prostitute. Who was she? Tamar. Vayachshevea lezona. He thought that she's a prostitute. Why? Because she was covering her face. From here, what we see? And only the prostitute covered their face. Regular women did not cover the face. If every woman was covering her face, why he thought she's a prostitute? If all women in the world cover their face, all Jewish women, why all of a sudden he thought she's a prostitute because she covered her face? Every other woman covered her face. Because only the prostitute covered her face from the embarrassment. But the regular religious kosher woman don't have to cover her face. This is a proof from the Torah. Why the Arab cover the face? Because everything they do, they try to do better than the Jews. The Jews pray 3 times a day, so they made it 5. Doesn't matter that it's 2-3 minutes each time, but 5 times. Why? Because the Jews pray on Yom Kippur 5 times, so we'll show them that we'll do it every day of the year 5 times. But they don't understand that it has to be 3. 5, it's not as good as 3. You can do it 50, it's no problem. But official prayer, has to be Shachrit, Mincha, Arvit, not 5. 5 only on Yom Kippur. That's why it's special. Same thing modesty. Same thing modesty. If Hashem wanted a woman to cover her face, every Jewish woman in history were doing it. Nobody ever did it because it's not what Hashem wanted. Now, when a person dies, a part of his soul goes to the grave and stays there forever. Forever. That's called Chibut HaKever. Unless if the person died in Israel, in the Holy Land, on Friday afternoon, close to Shabbat, every other person has this punishment. For the part that stays in the grave, there's a special different trial. The rest of the soul goes up to the court. Buried in Israel on Friday. Died and buried. Died in Erev Shabbat. If he dies close to Shabbat in Israel, that's an indication that he doesn't have Chibut HaKever. Chibut HaKever is even righteous people can get. This is a very, very sensitive issue here. And it says like this. It says like this. Usually, when I say righteous, I mean righteous who made 1% mistakes. So they can get it. But usually it goes to the wicked people. And there's an angel who come and judge that part of the soul in the grave. What's your name? This and all kinds of things. It's described in a Zohar. Very scary. I don't want to describe it. Just that we know. That's, by the way, one of the reasons why people like to go to the grave of the righteous people to pray there. Why? Because a part of the soul stay there forever. And by praying there, you ask this righteous person there, please bring my prayer in front of God faster, because you are like not a guest by God, you're like a son. If a person wants to speak to the rabbi or to give him a note, if it stay outside, he may stay there all day until they open the door. Very busy inside. He's in a meeting, he's learning this. But if he sees son, he say, here, give it to your father. Son goes, father is in a meeting, his father is, whatever he does, he can be in his bedroom laying, he comes, Abba, someone gave you this note. So this is a shortcut. That's why people like to go to the grave. But you know what the problem is? That today became like an idol worshipping. People made the grave like their God. Go there every day, forget about it. Once in a blue moon, fine, you go, you pray there, no problem. First of all, it's not good to go to cemeteries to begin with. Not good at all. And if there's really no choice, you go. But if there's no reason to go, why you go there? It's an impure place, you go over graves. What's good about it? You want to pray, you can pray to Hashem. There's no problem. Everyone can pray to Hashem as much as he wants. Okay, so let me give, and I'll give you soon times for question. Few more things. I know that we started late, so I don't want to keep you here all night. Okay, now. Some famous reincarnations in the Torah. Yov is Terach, the father of Abraham. Avraham Avinu, he had a father that was selling idols, making and selling idols. Close to the end of his life, he became religious. He made tshuva. Because the Torah says, Vayishkav Avraham im avotav. Avraham laid with his father. Chaz v'shalom, if his father did not make tshuva, Avraham went to hell with his father that spread idols in the world. There's nothing that God hates more than idols or idols worshippers. So how Avraham ended up like Terach? Of course not. So the Torah explained Terach made tshuva in the end of Terach's life. But it wasn't enough. That's what I'm making. That's the point I'm making. Sometimes a person makes tshuva when he's 60, 70, whatever. Of course, that changes status completely. If you die without tshuva, who knows what you're expecting? At least now you died, you became Shomer Shabbat, you started to pray, you started to be more honest, you stopped doing a lot of the things, but you're far from being perfect. You have many, many open sins that you did not erase, you still owe money, you still have many people you insulted, you never went to ask them for forgiveness, and there's many, many problems in your life. There wasn't enough time for you to suffer. For instance, there are 36 sins in the Torah that the Torah said the only way to erase them from your file is through suffering. Those are the 36 most severe sins in the Torah, which the Torah say that a person who does it, commit that sin, his soul get cut out of my nation, God say. V'nichreta nefesh ha'i, karet, let's call isur karet. It's the worst thing. What sin subject us to this kind of punishment? Chilul Shabbat. Chalel Shabbat, מות יומת ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מישראל. I cut that soul out of Israel. That's why מחלל Shabbat, according to the Jewish law, is a goy. It's not a Jew. People don't know it. Rabbi, you telling me my father is a goy? He makes kiddush on Shabbat. Up to the moment that he become religious, he's a goy. Once he become religious, right away become a Jew. He doesn't need conversion. Because originally his soul is Jewish soul. But it's on a ban. It's excluded from God's nation. It's clear verse in the Torah. We didn't make the rules. God say, I'm cutting that soul out of my nation. The Gemara explained, Mechalel Shabbat hareu kegoy lechol davar. It's 100% like a goy. Touch the wine, you have to spill it. You know, he made bracha, kiddush, you're not yotze. You have to do kiddush again. If you say bracha, if you say kaddish, you're not allowed to answer amen. If you need somebody for minyan, you cannot use him as a part of the minyan. You need 10 Shomrei Shabbat, and then you bring him as a guest, as 11 or 12. If you want to give him a loan, a regular Jew, you cannot charge interest. Mechalel Shabbat, you can kill him with the interest. No problem. Even though the Torah said that if you charge interest from a Jew, you do not resurrect in a resurrection of the dead. When Mashiach comes, all the righteous Jews from all the generation comes back to life. And if a person was righteous, but he had that sin that he charged interest from other Jews, he does not resurrect. But if he charged Mechalel Shabbat, he resurrect probably the first one. Why? There's no problem, because he's considered a goy. This is proves that it's not that the Torah tell you something to make you feel bad. No, it's reality. If I'm giving now a loan to Mechalel Shabbat, and I'm charging him, 2% a month interest, I'm not a sinner. Why? Because he's like a goy. Because the Torah say you're allowed to charge interest from the goy. When he dies, you're not allowed to bury him in a Jewish cemetery. You have to bury him in a separate section. You have to make a wall between Jews who Shomer Shabbat to Jews who are not Shomer Shabbat, and that's what they do in all the religious cemeteries in Israel. They have section of Shomrei Shabbat, separation, section of non-Shomrei Shabbat. There are much more to say. If we bring a sacrifice in Bet HaMikdash, you're not allowed to accept it from him. If he had a baby girl and he wants to say thank you to God, he believes in God, just doesn't want to keep Shabbat, doesn't want to keep the covenant. So he brings a goat, say, Kohen, please take it, sacrifice it for me, for Hashem, I want to give money to the poor people here. Not allowed to accept it from him. A goy came, Muhammad came, you take it from him. Bruce Lee came from China, you take it from him. Yossi, or Itzik, the Israeli, came from Yerushalayim. They bring a goat. Thank you, Hashem. He gave me finally a daughter. I waited for that 20 years. You're not accepting it from him. You understand what we're talking here about? So someone like that is cutting himself out of the Torah. That's called Isur Karet. Someone who eats chametz in Pesach, drinking beer, eats spaghetti, cookies, doesn't care. What are you eating chametz? It's Pesach now. The week of Pesach. Who cares about this? I'm hungry now. There's nothing to eat now. I eat falafel in a restaurant. Chametz. Big deal. You compare this to Isur Karet. V'nichreta nefesh hayim Yisrael. And there's a list of restrictions. Many of the sex crimes subject to this. Homosexuality is Isur Karet. So these kind of people are getting cut out of the Jewish nation. Now one day if they make tshuva, okay, became Shomer Shabbat, became Tzaddik, comes to learn Torah every day, Baruch Hashem. Not enough. All the times he made sins that it's subject to this Isur Karet, you cannot make tshuva for it without receiving suffering. There's no way. If you became Baal Tshuva and you never got suffering, 100% God did not accept your tshuva. There's no chance. Because this is the halakha, this is the law. You read in Rambam, in Ilchot Tshuva, you explain. Other sins, for instance, a person did not put tefillin. It's a very big sin, but it's not karet. One day he begins to put tefillin, one day he doesn't need suffering. He lost the reward of all the days that he did not put tefillin, but he doesn't need suffering. He starts to put tefillin, fine. The sin is corrected. Shabbat is not enough. Sins that are Isurei Karet is not enough just to stop and to regret and to make vidui and to fast on Yom Kippur. It's not enough. Must receive suffering. Now sometimes a person became religious when he was 60. There's not enough time to receive enough suffering. And Hashem cannot give him every second suffering. He'll go crazy. There's just as much as he can get. So you have to give him every week something. Like I had now, 3.5 hours to get here. Nightmare, everywhere you go. You understand? And then rain on top of you, and the cities fall in the water, there's rain, this, that. This is all considered suffering from all the karet scenes of the previous years. But what happens if a person, if he became religious when he's 30, no, he can go 40 years, Hashem has enough time to push the suffering. But if he's 7 years old, he just became religious, 7 years is Mechalel Shabbat. And he's supposed to live another 2-3 years and die. That's his time. So how you push in 3 years Isurei Karet of 70 years? It's impossible. So you have to come back in Gilgul. That's what happened to Terach, the father of Avraham Avinu. He became religious towards the end of his life, but he made so many sins, which is idol worshipping, Avodah Zarah. It's not enough. So he came back and he suffered the biggest suffering you can imagine. Eov. First he became millionaire, he has children, he's the master of the land. All of a sudden, boom, one tragedy after the other. Children dying, become sick, lose all his money. He got to a point that he said to Hashem, Hashem, my name is Eov, not Oyev. It's the same letters. Oyev means enemy. Eov, it's his name. So maybe you mixed the letters by mistake. I'm your lover, not your enemy. What is all this? So, this is an example of one reincarnation. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, used to be Hevel. Cain murdered Hevel. Wow. Hevel came back as Moshe. How Cain came back? Yitro, the father of Tzipora. Why Cain killed Hevel? Because Hevel was born with 2 beautiful twins, and Cain was born with 1 twin. Cain had 1 wife, and Hevel had 2 wives. He was jealous. And because that's one of the reasons why he killed him. The other reason is the sacrifice. Hevel brought sheep, he brought linen. Hashem accepted Hevel's sacrifice, and that led to the murder. Why Cain wasn't executed? The punishment of a murderer is execution by sword. Why he wasn't executed? He lived and Hashem made him protection because he did not know what does it mean to kill. There was no incident before. He didn't know that you hit somebody, he dies, and that's it. There's no way to bring him back. After he saw what he did, he said, Gadol avoni minso. My sin is greater from any ability to carry it. It's so heavy, my sin, that I'm unable to carry it. So how did Cain correct his sin? He came back as Yitro, and he gave his daughter Tzipora to Moshe, which is Hevel. I killed you for a girl, I'm giving you a girl. And another part of his soul came back in the body of the Egyptian policeman that was beating up the Jew, and Moshe saw him. Moshe said the name of Hashem, Shem Amforash, and that Egyptian died and he buried him. And that's the reason why Moshe had to run away from Egypt. He was in Midian until when he was 80 years old, Hashem returned him back to Egypt. Who was this Egyptian? A part of the soul of Cain. You killed me, now from Shamayim I killed you. But you killed me in a sin, and I killed you in a mitzvah. Because you were beating up a Jew, in 1 more minute he would be dead. So I had to protect him. So I killed you measure for measure, like you killed me. You killed me for a girl, you had to give me your daughter as a girl. Understand? So this is an example of Gilgulim. There are many famous Gilgulim. For instance, Shimshon, Samson the prophet, right? Is Gilgul of Nadav, the son of Aaron. Aaron a Kohen had 2 sons, Nadav and Avihu. They died. They sacrificed fire inside that they were not supposed to. Esh Zara. So Nadav died and he came back as Shimshon. Why? What's the connection? Nadav and Avihu did not want to get married. They said the Jewish girls are not in our level. We didn't find one Jewish girl that is worthy enough for us to marry her. So they didn't want to get married. We're not talking about people like today. Why are you not getting married? Well, I go every night to the club in Manhattan. Every night I have a different wife. Why do I need to get married? This is sick people. We're not talking this kind of people. We're talking holy people. Holy, they were in a higher level than even Moshe and Aaron. We're not talking, but they had some kind of an ego when it comes to this. They thought no one is worthy enough for me. So what happened? Hashem said, oh yeah? Who you going to end it up with? With Delilah, the Goya. Where does it say? It says Shimshon Badan, from Shevet Dan. Badan, if you change the order of the letters, is Nadav. That's what the Ari HaKadosh say. He is really Nadav. You died. One of the reasons you died, you didn't want to get married. Who buried you in your next life? Delilah. She made him, thanks because of her, he became blind. He had to kill 3,000 Philistines with him. The entire story, Midah keneged Midah. Measure for measure. There are many other examples. Who is a reincarnation of who? But of course, we don't have the time, but we understand the concept. How the concept. Sometimes a person can come back 500 years later and get a punishment. 500 years later. Why? Because Hashem needed the right atmosphere to bring him. Sometimes a person dies, he's not reincarnated right away. He's not going to heaven, he's not going to hell, he's not reincarnated in anything. So where is he? He is in a place called Tohu. Tohu. What's Tohu? There's a place, there's a place that it's really not the spiritual world and not the physical world. It's like putting it in a bank of the soul. The Gemara say, En ben David ba, the Mashiach, the son of David, is not coming until all the souls will disappear from the place called Guf. We're talking the same place. What does it mean, Guf? Guf means is a place like a tank, that all the souls of the wicked people that are on hold, are pending, that needs to be reincarnated, are waiting there. 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, depends. Why they there? Because Hashem does not have the right family for them. For instance, a kid died and he has to be reincarnated, and Hashem needs to reincarnate him with his parents. But his parents not supposed to die yet. They have to live another 20 years. Their time did not come. Hashem is still testing them. 20 years later, they die in an accident. Now Hashem take that boy and take the parents and reincarnate all three of them in a new family with different bodies. But he couldn't bring the boy until he was able to find the right family. That's called the Guf, or we have another name for it, it's Tohu. The Mashiach cannot come until all the souls will disappear from that place. Why? Because once Mashiach comes, there's no more reincarnations. No more tests, that's it. No more Yetzer Hara, the Yetzer Hara is over, no more desires, no more anger, no more ego, no more being stingy, no more being lazy, no more not want to learn Torah, cheating, doing none of this. No, that's it, it's gone. Why? Because up to now we're still in a test. That's why there always people are born. Once we are, when the Mashiach comes, en mekablim gerim, we cannot accept converts when Mashiach arrived, and you cannot accept, that's no more Baalei Tshuva. Now you want to be religious? Thank you very much. 20 years you hear lectures, this, that, you don't watch. Now when you saw Mashiach, the shofar of Eliyahu Hanavi, now you run, Rabbi, when is the shiur? Of course, don't deserve a reward. The idea is to do it because Hashem says in the Torah, once it's happened, it's over. That's why there's not going to be birth. No birth anymore. No pregnancy, no suffering 9 months, big stomach, help me out, I can't. The doctor wants to induce, Rabbi, should I do it? Not, it's 2 o'clock at night, the doctor gets angry. Enough with this. No more. And also, there's a lot of questions, what's going to be in these days? If people would have to eat. Because remember, a part of eating is to correcting all the souls who reincarnated in a food. And if there's no more reincarnations, maybe the food is not necessary. However, you also need food to survive. So there's a lot of questions. A person will have to go to the bathroom, if we'll have to eat. If as many of the things that we do today, there's a question if there still be in the world in those days. But that's a whole different lecture. If I'm going to start with this, we're never going to end. But you should know, only the righteous Jews will resurrect in a resurrection of the dead. Someone who died Mechalel Shabbat has no share to the world to come. No share to the world to come. Unless if he was born in Siberia and his parents sent him to learn in a Christian school somewhere in Russia. He never saw a Jew until he was 60. And say, what's your name? Alex. Alex what? Alex Brzezinski. All of a sudden, they tell him, no, you're not Alex, you're Yosef Cohen. What? Yeah, the Kozakim, they stole you when you were a baby, and they raised you as a Christian, and then he found out, and they bring him proof, they do DNA, and he finds out that really is a Jew. Someone like this, he didn't lose his share to the world to come. If he wants to be a part of the minyan, you have to accept him, because he's innocent. He's a sinner, but he's not a criminal. We are talking criminals, they lose their rights. Someone who was forced to be a criminal, if somebody put a gun to you and you, because of that, drove on Shabbat, you're a righteous person, you're not a criminal. Torah say to do it. If somebody didn't know he's a Jew, what do you expect from him? Or someone did not know what Judaism is. He went to public school, his friend was Mr. Lee from Korea, the other one was Mr. This from China, and then 2 black people in front of him, 2 Japanese in the back, 1 French guy, 1 Irish guy, 5 Italians. This is his gang. So you hear from the Italians about JC all day. They bring sausages. Eat. Here, pizza with pepperoni. That's how he grew. What do you expect from him? So somebody like this one day found a lecture. I have people like this every hour. Believe me, sometimes I have tears when I read their email. I say, wow, how lucky I am. Imagine if my test would be like this guy now. Where would I start? What a hero. That he comes and he checks and this. But up to now, if he died now, that's it. He can get reincarnated, and he has another chance. Whatever, when I say Mechalel Shabbat, I mean someone who doesn't know Shabbat is a holiday. Never heard. Doesn't know that Judaism is true. He doesn't know there is God. He was born a communist. That's what they told him. Everyone has to take care of everyone. No. So this kind of people, fine, they are dismissed. But we are not like this. Let's not hallucinate. Most of the people I meet, they know there's religion, they know the Torah. When the IRS send them an audit, what's the first thing they say? Oh God, help me please, you have to help me. Oh God, in a hospital. If you don't believe me, let's make a tour tomorrow together to York Avenue in a cancer department over there. Every room you go, doesn't matter, Jew, non-Jew, as soon as they see me, I come with my black hat. As soon as half of them will call me, Rabbi, come, can you give a blessing to my mother? Can you bless my father? Can you pray for him? Can you tell me what to pray for? What happened? You became a rabbi? Of course. In tragedy, people begin to believe. Many of them always believe. Now they just need God, so they realize, if not now, when? This is not the kind of people who call Tinok Shenishba, a captured baby that was stolen by the Goyim and raised as a Goy. That's not, we are not in this level. Maybe some of the people who came from Russia recently and they really didn't know anything, yes, maybe they are. But most Sephardic Jews in the world, most of them are not in this category. By the Ashkenazim is more comments because by them, the living the religion started more than 200 years ago, which is 7-8 generations already. Sometimes you meet an Ashkenazi guy, and his mother was not religious, and his grandmother, his grandmother, he knows few generations from his family, and none of them had any connection with religion. Why? He was in Germany, his grandfather was a professor. There's nothing to do with the Torah. That's a different story. Okay, so far any questions? Yes?
Can you go more into detail with this whole, like, if you become more religious in the middle of your life and then you're not considered a Jew anyway? Can you just keep going on that a little bit?
Okay, someone who become right away religious, which means he accepts in his heart fully to change and to start keeping what he learns and died a minute after. His status already changed from a very wicked person to a not wicked person. You cannot call him righteous because he did not even do one mitzvah yet. But his status changed right away because he decided to change. He died because Hashem wants to give him a chance to change in a different body, in a different place. But once he agreed to change, it's already changing his status. If he died, he did not lose his share to the world to come. Only people who died wicked, not Shomer Shabbat, none of these things that is murderer, rapist, eating pork, whatever they do, they don't care. They die in that status, it's a problem. So if a person started to become religious, sometimes even partially, he gets back his right and his ticket to life, to the life of eternity. He gets it right back. So it's not so difficult, because if a person accepts, already his status changed. The Gemara says, if a person say to a woman, הרי את מקודשת לי על מנת שאני צדיק גמור. You're going to be, I'm sanctifying you to be my wife in condition that I will be a perfect righteous person. That's the condition. Once I'm going to be righteous, even for 5 minutes, I'll be righteous, then at that moment you become my wife. That's the condition. Sometimes you can tell her, you'll be my wife when I give you $1 million. So she's sitting and waiting. Rivka, why are you not going on dates? My friend from high school promised me he's going to give me $1 million. So she wait. One day show up with a suitcase, $1 million. The minute she grabbed the $1 million, that moment she became a married woman. No ring, no rabbi, no nothing. Because that was the condition. Arat Mekudeshet, she agreed in one condition. The condition happened, the marriage starts. Now the Gemara says, if he told her, you're going to be my wife when I'll be completely righteous. The Gemara says she cannot marry any other man. She must get a get from him. Maybe he made tshuva in his heart. So you see that the person did not do one mitzvah yet. Still have a earring here, still have tattoo here, still have long ponytail like a horse tail. He still goes with his cut shirt on the beach like this. You know, after 20 years he was in a gym. Still eat cheeseburger for lunch. But he just told her that I will be a perfect righteous. Maybe at that moment he say, God, have mercy on me. I have to change. Help me out. I want to be righteous. And its pain was so hard that it's questioned. Maybe it's already a tshuva. Of course, it doesn't have any reward yet. But maybe it's already enough for the marriage to start. We don't know exactly what's the turning point. She must get a get, divorce. She cannot marry. Maybe the kids will be mamzerim if she marries somebody else, because she could be a married woman. So what do you learn from here? That once the person accepts fully to become Shomer Shabbat, even if he died before Shabbat, it was Tuesday, and he died Thursday, he didn't get to keep Shabbat. He is already not considered Mechalel Shabbat. Remember, he never kept one Shabbat in his life. He comes to his trial, he say, okay, you got saved from Shabbat. You got saved. Why? Because I know that you accepted really to keep Shabbat. I know it.
But isn't Shabbat one of the 36?
One of the 36.
So
He doesn't go to heaven. He needs to be reincarnated and go through the suffering that God owes him. But he got saved from losing his share to the world to come.
What kind of suffering are we talking
Yeah, what are we
about?
talking about?
Do you want me to give you a list of the suffering I hear about every day?
But the nicer section.
Getting stuck in traffic.
Okay.
Yeah.
One suffering is every 30 seconds you get an email with a new tragedy. That's big suffering. This boy, this girl, this marriage broken, this kid is missing, that someone was molested, someone got killed, accident, a brain tumor. Oh, every 30, 40 seconds, something happened. That's suffering. Okay, now, suffering can be raising children. Problem, they rebel against you. Everything you tell them, it's a fight. Everything they don't want to learn. You have to go to school, they throw them out. You have to find them a new yeshiva. And another yeshiva, they throw them out. And they start smoking. And next thing, the police call you, come take your son, he's drunk somewhere. There's a lot of problems today. Then suffering is you sit home and your husband go and cheat with a goya, even though he goes to minyan every morning. You understand? There's also a very sad situation in the communities today. Gamblers. A woman support her husband, 20 years they build themselves, then he become a gambler. He lose everything that they save. That's suffering. She suffered that she has such a retarded, defected husband.
So whose
You understand?
suffering is that? Hers or his?
Both. He suffered because of his stupidity. She suffered because that's what happened. It wasn't in her hand. Yeah, okay, so there are many different kinds. Suffering can be stomach problem. Everything a person eats, he has stomach problems. Suffering can be stress. So many panicking, anxiety attack. Almost every person have anxiety attack. Suffering, eyelashes is shaking, the hands is shaking, the heart beating go very fast. The doctor, dentist, root canal, traffic. Wow, so many. Suffering can be, you go to the payphone and you need to put a quarter in. And you're looking in your pocket in a cold day and you found a dime. And then you look again, you found a nickel. And then finally you found the quarter. So the 22nd that you were freezing extra with the wind in January, that's suffering for something. But there are suffering that are much worse than that. So suffering has billions of things. I just give a few examples. Yes?
I have a question. So every person pays for its own sins. What about our children, other generations?
Every boy gets punished for his own sin. Which means Adam ish bechet'o yumat. A person is responsible for his own sin to die for it. לא יומתו בנים על אבות, לא יומתו אבות על בנים. Parents don't die because of their children, and kids don't die because of their parents, unless if it's their fault. Which means, if your son making sins because you put him in public school, every sin he makes, it counts like you did. You're responsible. You have to get punished for his billions of sins that he makes. One day he marry Goya, you have to pay for it. One day he murdered someone, you have to pay for it. Why? Because you put him in public school. Especially if you are rich. I know many rich people, 10 televisions they have. In every bathroom they have a $2,000 screen there. But they don't want to pay their children to go to yeshiva.
But
you understand?
What if
So they are guilty.
a father cheats? Will the son pay for his sins?
No. Nothing to do one with the other. Nothing to do one with the
What
other.
about for a girl? You didn't say anything.
You know why the father cheats? Because he doesn't learn Torah. If he starts the day every day with 1 or 2 hours Torah, he won't be able to get to such a low level. If you don't believe me,
I didn't hear anything.
no, if you don't believe me, take a cheater and make a deal with him. 2 weeks, learn Torah. I don't know, get him money, do something to convince him to learn 2 weeks Torah, and then you see how his personality changes. Yes?
In the Torah, Hashem punishes 5 generations forward. She's trying to ask you, does that happen now? Like,
It's not a
we hear
punishment.
families
It's not a, no.
5-year-old,
It's reality, it's reality.
because of 3 generations
Yeah.
ago, or 4 generations.
I got it now.
Our young people, we see them, they didn't even have time to commit.
And then
so
people
many
say,
sins.
oh, you know, your kids are paying for your sins or something.
Oh, let me explain to you how it works. If a woman, if a woman cheated, sorry for the nuts.
Don't worry.
All right. Maybe I save you from eating worms. You never know. Anyway, so if a woman cheated on her husband and became pregnant by another man, so the boy is a mamzer, right? He cannot marry any woman besides somebody like him, mamzeret. So everybody asks, why the boy has to suffer because of his mother's sin? Why he has to suffer? Before he was born, he's already excluded. He cannot marry 90% of the girls. Everyone points at him in the street. Why does he need this? So the answer is, people don't understand the way the world is. That's why they ask such a foolish question. It's a foolish question. Why? It comes from ignorant. When the woman made such a sin, now God has 2 million people that needs to be reincarnated in a bank, in that place that I told you before. They're waiting for reincarnation. What do you think? He does a Russian roulette? Up, let's turn it. Okay, number 10,291 came up. You go to this married woman who cheated. What? No. From all the 2 million people, he take a person that used to go with other people, married wife, and make sins with them, and so now you're going to feel what you did to other families in your previous life. You become a mamzer, and everyone say, poor kid, why his mother did? He's not a poor kid. He's a big criminal that was chosen from among the other criminals to be the mamzer of that family. You understand? Same thing, a person is born blind. Poor kid was born blind. Why, God? What do you know? Did you know how many dirty movies he was watching in his previous life? Now he's blind. Hashem is helping him to correct his sins. What do you worry for him?
He was just blind, born blind. Impossible.
Come on. You really think there's coincidence in life? Come on. You have a yarmulke on your head. Not allowed to ask this question with a yarmulke. Everything is supervised. Everything is supervised 100%. Do you think you have a flat tire out of nowhere because there was a screw on
What if you
on the
become
street?
blind?
Huh?
You weren't watching the movies in the beginning of your life, you were watching the end?
No, we're talking people who died without tshuva. People who died with tshuva, yeah, they may
Let me
need.
ask a question, like if you become, let's say at age 30, or like you said, somebody who was...
He still needs to
poor and
suffer, you
becomes
mean?
rich later on in life. Some people become rich at age 50, let's say.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
How is
That's
that?
more suffering.
That's not a good sign. If a person is half and half religious, half not, half Yosef, half Chris. For instance, in the morning he comes, sit with the Rabbi in Shiur Gemara, put his yarmulke on, looks very big tzaddik, come, tefillin, talit, everything, give tzedakah, put few quarters, Baruch Hashem. He finish, go to work, he's a broker, insurance broker, real estate broker, businessman, whatever, all day cheat his customer. Here, this camera is imported from Japan, infrared, you want the lens also? The lens cost him 50 cents, it's not really infrared. You see, it's a tourist from France. By the time he go to France, where is he going to find me? He's going to come to America to get back his money. He say, no, I have a special one. This is $800, it's infrared. At night, it's like the day. So he sell it to him. The tourists go to France. Then he calls him from France. Parle français? Well, no red. Every day, somebody like this, Shomer Shabbat, eating kosher, give tzedakah, bringing guests, put his kids in yeshivot, comes to learn every morning, so he does a lot of good, but he does also bad. So Hashem wait X amount of years to make sure that this person will turn to the positive side. Once it doesn't happen, he begins to pay him for his mitzvot in this world and finish with him. Which means, if he's 50 and now he started to make millions of dollars and he did not improve, that's a sign that Hashem paid him for his reward in this life and he lost his share to the world to come for certain sins that he's doing. You understand? That's why it's not a good sign to see a wicked person making a lot of money, especially in the last part of his life. That means that Hashem did not want to give him reward for his mitzvot yet, because he wanted to give it to him in the life of eternity. But since he's not changing, every year, Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, same thing, doesn't change. If any, he goes back. So Hashem said, okay, we got to make a decision with this guy. 30 years I'm waiting, nothing became better. Okay, he made a lot of mitzvot. Kadima, empire, real estate, deals, that, got rid of his wife, found a girl 20 years younger, going on the movies, television, pictures. Wow, I feel like the master of the world. Wow. Then he comes to Shamayim. Hashem says, okay, you empty. That's it, you broke. What do you mean? I kept Shabbat. Yeah, you got for that 10 buildings you got. I did this. You got for that $10 million. You did this. You remember the FBI was looking for you and I saved you by a miracle? The investigator, he was in front of his eyes and he didn't see. I saved you from 20 years in prison. That's for all the donations you gave. This for that, this for that, this for this for this. Now let's take care of you. Finished. Now, so that's why it's not a good sign. I'll tell you a story. I know a guy that he grew up 90% like a goy, in a place that there are few Reformed Jews, somewhere in Pennsylvania. What did he know about Torah? One day, he started to listen to the lectures. Internet can travel. Started to listen to my lecture, started to become more and more religious, became Shomer Shabbat, decided to move to Israel. Now, while he was not religious, he had the business of fireworks, which means every 4th of July he had like a big business, making a whole show. Perhaps he was making good money. Plus his family has a business. He wasn't a homeless. So what happened now? One time in 4th of July, the Chinese fireworks explode in his face. Psh, like a bomb. He was a few months in a hospital fighting between life and death. And his life got saved, and later he started to listen to the lecture, and then he became religious. He made aliyah and lives in a religious neighborhood in Israel now. He was suing the Chinese government. If I'm not mistaken, 8 or 9 times he won. But they're not paying him. $10 million he won. They appeal, and they appeal again, and they appeal again, and they're not paying. Because in China, the government owns everything. It's communism there. So you have to fight now with the government that is probably the richest in the world, that control 2 billion people in China. It's not so simple. Some of the problems we have with Iran is because of them, you know. They and the Russian are the ones behind the scene that making all the problems. So finally, in the last appeal, that's it, final decision, the same judge reversed all his decision and he lost everything. And all the time, this Jew was saying, when I'm gonna get the money, I'm gonna give a huge amount to tzedakah to make people religious, And he meant 100%, there's not even 1% doubt. He would have done it. But then everything fell apart. And there's really, he deserved not only 10 million, he deserved a lot more. You should see this. He almost died just a few months ago in a condition. The ambulance in Israel, they had to bring him to the hospital. He was in coma for more than 24 hours. He's suffering. He's in a wheelchair. He's going with a cane. He has a lot of suffering right now with medicine. So what happened? If he would get $10 million, he would have made him a very serious problem. I told him that. I told him, think about it. All your life you live, you made so many sins. One day you decide to be religious. 2, 3, 4 months after you became Shomer Shabbat, you made Aliyah, you started to eat kosher, you're living like a real Jew, you're learning Torah. You want to make $10 million now? That's Chas v'Shalom a sign that God pay you for all the mitzvot you did in your life. Now you have to go through some suffering. You go to this suffering, you accept everything, you're making now mitzvot, your reward will be in life of eternity. You cannot get reward here and then reward there. It's either here or there. You can't get the punishments here and then get more punishments over there. It's either here or there. If it's here or there, it's 1 billion times better that it will be here, because over here it's all temporary. The reward and the punishment. If it's a reward here, it's 20, 30 years, it's over. If it's a punishment here, it's also 20, 30 or 40 years and it's over. But over there, it's endless. There's no end. So that's why a person better get everything here and always say, thank you, Hashem, that it's only this. The more you complain, the more problems you get. So now, if a person is reincarnated and his father say, look, my children suffer because of me, because I did this and this and this, don't worry. Hashem put them by you because they deserve to receive this suffering. You understand? If they didn't deserve it, they would be somebody else's children. They would grow in the house of Rav Ovadia, not in your house. Hashem sent them to you. Also, sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes the kids are your test. You have to raise them. Nobody else. You have to raise them. I think we should finish with one quick story that I tell you. You know that I always give example from the autistic kids. Shh. I give example from the autistic kids. And one time I asked the woman who communicates with the autistic kids, an American Jew, I told her, tell me, what's the most bizarre things that you had with these autistic kids? So she gave me 2 or 3 stories. One of them I remember. One of them I remember about a boy disappeared. They found him dead in a cave, and the autist knew where to send him. Whatever, but that's not so to our subject. The things that I'm telling you is relate to our subject. She said that one time she was called to Muncie, very religious place, to communicate between a husband and wife that adopted a 2-year-old autistic kid, Down syndrome. They adopted him before, and now he's 2 years old, laying in crib, all day screaming, they don't know what he wants. Very serious problem. It's not a regular kid. So they went out of their mind. Now why they adopted him? Because they've been married for many years and they can't have children. So one rabbi told them, if you adopt a kid like this, Hashem will have mercy on you and give you kids. So they heard that, people that don't have kids, they'll do everything they can to have a kid. They're not always thinking that this boy will beat me up in 15 years and steal my car when he's 14 and who knows what he's going to do and how many problems he's going to make me in school and how much embarrassment I'm going to get from him and who knows how much he's going to... They don't think that thing. Everyone thinks life is ideal. Wow. So fine, they'll give everything they can. So they adopted that kid and now they couldn't take it anymore, so they want to return him back to the institution. So they heard that there's a way to communicate with them. So they called her up. So she went to their house, very wealthy people. she comes to the house and she started to communicate, and right away, before they even ask a question, he started to shoot. Ta, 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 ta. You know, his fingers move and he types on the letters. And he said, I know you want to return me back to the institution, but if you will return me back to this place, you will never have children. You will only have children after I die here in your house. So they ask, why? They say, in our previous life, we used to be 3 neighbors, me and both of you. I used to be a guy that learns Torah in yeshiva all day. And you used to give me a lot of problems. You were my neighbors. Both of you were torturing me. And I hated you very much in my heart. When I came to God to my trial, He told me, even though you were very righteous, you have one sin that because of that you cannot enter your place in heaven. What is it? Lo tisna et achicha bilvavcha. Don't hate your brother in your heart. Even in your heart. Not to talk about words and hurting him and lashon hara and telling the police about him and the IRS. I'm not talking this. This is like murder already. Just hating him in your heart. So I hated you in my heart so much. And because of that, my punishment was that I have to be reincarnated, and your punishment is that you have to raise me and take care of me and change my diapers as because of what you did to me. So when I'll die, your tikkun will be finished with me, and only after that you'll have your own children. What do you think happened? They couldn't send him back. Mishamayim. They thought about communicating with him. And before they even asked a question, right away started to say, you know, now they became husband and wife, the 2 neighbors, and Hashem sent the yeshiva guy to become a Down syndrome boy in their house, and they have to change his diapers and suffer and take care of him. And it's all midah keneged midah. All the punishments of God is measure for measure. There's always connection. Now, one last thing. Sometimes people ask, okay, in that case, why God doesn't tell me for what sin I'm getting punished? If I just got punished now, flat tire, in the rain, what sin is it for? I have, Baruch Hashem, unfortunately, many, many sins. A person think. I have sins all the way from here to Honolulu. So which one of them I got the flat tire for? Which one? So I'm thinking, maybe I insulted my friend? No. Maybe I didn't bring enough money to the person who did so many favors to me? No. Maybe I'm not nice to my wife? No. Maybe to my children? No. Maybe I didn't eat strictly kosher in the last month? No. Maybe I cheated a customer? No. Maybe I did. It begins to drive him crazy. Which one? So why Hashem doesn't send the punishment with a sticker? Dear Jew, insulting Itzik, $500. This, being not nice to your wife, you lost your car, total car. This, that. Right away, a person run, fix it, and Hashem send him back the money in a different door, no? Life would be ideal. No. People ask, where is the mercy of God? If there's such horrible punishments in the Torah, and we see so many people are suffering, and we saw Auschwitz, and we saw Hitler, and we see all the Arab dictators, what's going on in this world, and now the new crazy midget in Iran that is about to destroy the whole world. Where is the mercy of God? The answer is, the mercy of God doesn't mean that He lets you go with your sins. That's no justice. I'm the God of the justice. To be merciful, a teacher that let the kid get away with everything he does because he has a good heart is a very bad and stupid teacher. A good teacher who really loves the boy must give him what he deserves for future reference that he will improve. For everything he get away with, what's the point? So the same thing here. If Hashem would let the wicked people go away with their sin, get away with that, what is the righteous people going to think about God? You fooled us. You lied to us. You gave us the Torah, warning, be careful, it pays to be righteous, don't be wicked, and now all the things we did, in the end we have the same end like the wicked people? So where is the God of justice that you call yourself? So even God wants to let someone go, He cannot. It would make the Torah a lie. Torah is divine, He cannot. So where is the mercy? The mercy is that instead of giving us a punishment for every sin we do, and we're going to get about $1 billion a day, and we pull our hair off and lay on the carpet and say, I can't move anymore. That's it. Every 2 minutes something. It's one lashon hara, $500. Say a bad word to another person on the phone, your stocks crash today. You say something not nice to your wife, somebody just hit your car. Imagine every 2 minutes something with you. You go crazy. So he sends you one punishment for 1,000 sins, but you don't know which one. So you think, maybe it's A, let's correct A. Maybe it's B, let's correct B. Maybe it's C. So with one punishment, you correct 10 sins. Another punishment, you correct 50 sins.
If you get a punishment,
You understand the point, the concept, or no? That's how it works, yes.
if you get a punishment, does it erase that sin that you made?
Depend. Sometimes you get a punishment for stealing, but it doesn't erase the sin. You still must return the money. You get punished for the aggravation you caused the person, for his agony, for his crying, for his children suffering. For that you get an extra punishment. But as long as you do not give the money, you can never enter heaven. You must return what you owe people. It's a big problem. People who owe money to Jews cannot give tzedakah. Not allowed to give tzedakah. They need permission from the person they owe him money. I want to buy an aliyah in a shul. Do you give me permission? If you say no, you're not allowed. You're a criminal. You're not a tzaddik. You go to shul, you buy aliyah in Yom Kippur $1,000. You owe someone $10,000, and after you for 2 years begging you for the money, and you tell him next month, come back next month, business is bad. Then he hears that yesterday in a shul in Yom Kippur you bought aliyah. You're a criminal. You're not a tzaddik. And many other examples I can give you. You understand? Yes. Yeah.
We're asking, like, if a baby who's like 2 years old falls or gets hurt or something, like, what's the punishment he has? He never did anything.
That's for his parents. That's for his parents? No. But remember, there's no baby. There's really no baby. This baby, just 2 months ago, he just died, 75 years old, this baby.
So he's paying for his...
He began to pay, but the punishment is more also for his children, that they have the pain, that's what happened to him. But he doesn't get a scratch unless if he deserves it. He doesn't get a scratch.
What about a kid that's just born?
Yes.
For like 5-10 minutes, then he passes away or she passes away.
No.
So who is that? That's for the parents fully? Or the kid just...
For the kid also, from previous life. That's what I said. The kid doesn't get I say previous life.
No, but he's saying it goes to the kid. So you only have 5-10 minutes.
I see some, I see we opened, Baruch Hashem, a discussion here. And I like it. That means the lecture was good. But now I know why it took 3.5 hours to get here. Yeah, the Satan is doing everything he can to ruin the event. Everything he can.
If you hate somebody, anybody here, if we all hate somebody, we have to come back again. I'm sure everyone hates somebody.
No, not supposed to. Wait. How does a Jew start his day? Wait. How does a Jew start his day? How does a Jew start his day? הרי אני אוהב כל אחד ואהבת לרעך כמוך. I love every Jew like I love myself. So what, you're declaring lies every day? Before you go to sleep, what do you say? הרי אני מוחל וסולח. I'm forgiving everyone. Then 2 months later, you see him on the street. Well, I'm going to put my hand on this guy. That means 2 months he's standing in front of Hashem. Start the day with a lie. Finish the day with a bigger lie. Start, I love every Jew like I love myself. Then he finished the day, I forgive every Jew for everything he ever did to me. 2 months later, he see him, he owe him $5, I'll kill this guy.
How can you like Madoff, for example? Chil Hashem #1.
Let me tell you something. You know why people hate people? Because they don't believe in God. Think again. If you know that the people that did something to you was sent by Hashem, they decided to make a sin. And Hashem made a marriage between you and them, and they took your money. They could have hit somebody else with a fraud. Okay. But they came to your credit card, or to your checkbook, or they broke into your car and not to somebody else's car. Now, if you knew that Hashem sent you a punishment instead of killing you, He gave you $1,000 damage in your car, and He used that poor guy that he was the one who executed the punishment. Why? Because he have his own evil inclination, and he decided to make a sin, and Hashem put you and him one and one together. But it's really, with or without him, you would have to pay that $1,000, because you are guilty of something completely different, has nothing to do with this guy. So why would you hate him? Why would you hate him? You have to hate yourself. To say, I'm not good. Hashem, I'm very sorry that you needed to send a Jew to take away money from me, or whatever. For the person that believes in Hashem, how can he hate somebody else? Everything min hashamayim, everything. I've seen things in my life that people did to the other. I know a person that somebody stole $150,000 from him, and he wasn't a rich man. And a few months later, he brought him a box of food on Passover to his house. He said, I heard that you're not doing good, so here is a box. And you should see the face of that guy when he received the box. I think that it's bigger than the punishment that Hashem will give him. The embarrassment that he had, that his wife was standing there and watching, that the person that you stole his money brought you food for Pesach to the house. Just imagine the embarrassment. Believe me, if he could, he would pay $10,000 not to get that delivery. You understand? I know another person, everyone who hates him, he runs to him. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. How are you? And you should see the face of the people now. They just finished 5 minutes ago speaking Lashon Hara about this guy for 5 hours. And he runs to them. How are you? Mwah, mwah, how are you? They can't look at him. How do you know if a person speaks about you Lashon Hara? If you come and be nice to him, you see he turns his face from you. It's hard for him to look at you. Why? Because he knows he talks about you so much. So even when he shakes his hand, your hand, you see that it's very, very weak. It's not real shake. It's like, just it's the sign, it's body language. Let me just get out of that situation. I'm suffering. You understand? You see how people behave. How do you know if somebody is dying to get out of your lecture, if you're a speaker? He sits in the edge of the chair and his two hands are on his knees, like this. Which means he's one step away from getting up. But he doesn't realize that he's showing the speaker that he's dying to go. You understand? Yeah. That's called body language. Any questions before we finish? That's it for today. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us here. It was great. Sorry again for the delay, and we'll meet again soon, Bezrat Hashem. Good night.